There is a sentiment that has been perpetrated across the country that the Democrats and progressives in this country are not for anything, but are just anti everything Trump. And I don't think that that could be any further from the truth, given the amount of detailed policy that progressives have laid out in what would be a framework for a progressive vision of the country moving forward. But before we look at that, I'm Max Lopez. This is the Blue Wave. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with someone who's into politics, and comment down below. Let me know what you think about these ideas. So again, it's been said time and time again, Democrats aren't for anything. The progressives aren't for anything. They're just anti everything Trump. But the thing is that progressives and Democrats have laid out some pretty revolutionary policy points that unfortunately at this moment will be difficult to implement given the makeup of the balance of power in the Congress, and obviously Donald Trump having control of the White House. But there has been quite a bit of policy laid out, such as a $17 minimum wage hike from where it's currently at, which is very, very much lower than that. Bobby Scott, Democrat Virginia, and Bernie Sanders, Independent Vermont, introduced the Raise the Wage Act of 2025 on Tuesday in both chambers. This was last week, with hopes of increasing the federal minimum wage. The bill would raise the minimum wage to $17 by 2030, according to the Economic Policy Institute. The current federally mandated hourly wage is $7.25 an hour and has not increased since 2009. No person working full-time in America should be living in poverty. The Raise the Wage Act will increase the pay and standard of living for nearly 22 million workers across this country, said Scott, who is the ranking member of the House Committee on Education and the Workforce. So somewhere in the mid to late 1980s, what was perpetrated across the country was the idea of trickle-down economics, that if corporation profits are allowed to soar and soar and soar, that eventually those profits will be naturally passed down to workers in the company and will result in higher wages and higher standard of living for everyone in society based on corporate profits. But what we've seen is that has not happened, and that CEOs in this country make often hundreds and hundreds of times as much yearly as lower down workers in the company. And Americans have not seen the benefit of corporate profits, and it has not been spread around. So what we need to do is federally mandate a living wage of $17 an hour so that corporations are no longer allowed to pay workers pennies on the dollar while raking in huge amounts of profit, which has led to the worst income inequality at any point in history in the United States of America, being right now. So let's move on to my second policy point of three. These are the top three policy points I think would have the biggest impact, which is single payer healthcare. We have an article here from Harvard Health Publishing where a healthcare physician writes their ideas here about single payer healthcare, and they write, problems with the current U.S. healthcare system. This person's name is Oberlander, points out that the impetus for reorganizing the entire healthcare system has to do with the regrettable state of healthcare in the United States. Currently, the healthcare finance structure is made of an impressively complicated network of multiple payers involving both private and government health insurance options. Despite spending more on healthcare than comparable countries, the U.S. has the lowest life expectancy and performs poorly on a variety of health outcomes. Thus, our complex network of insurance plans is wasteful, in large part due to high administrative costs and lack of price control. Inequity is another major problem. the United States remains the only developed country without universal health care. The Affordable Care Act has made important gains toward improving and expanding health insurance coverage. However, it was never designed to provide universal health care, and 30 million Americans remain uninsured. What is single payer? In a single payer healthcare system, rather than multiple competing health insurance companies, a single public or quasi-public agency takes responsibility for financing healthcare for all its residents. That is, everyone has health insurance under a one health insurance plan and has access to necessary services, including doctors, hospitals, long-term care, prescription drugs, dentists, and vision care. However, individuals may still choose where they receive care. It's a lot like Medicare, hence the US single payer nickname Medicare for all. So, like the article laid out there, we currently spend more on healthcare than any other country, but still have 30 plus million people uninsured, which is absolutely makes no sense, right? We're spending more, but we still have a very low percentage of insured people per capita compared to other developed nations that have implemented things like single payer healthcare. And if you look at this article here from this is a poll actually from 2004, all the way back in 2004, they were doing polling on this. And overall, nearly 2/3 of physicians believe that a single payer healthcare financing system was superior to fee-for-service care and managed care in a competitive market. So doctors think it would be better. Many people in this country would love a single payer healthcare system, which would overall lower costs and improve care for this country. The thing is that a lot of Republicans, some Democrats as well, but a lot of Republicans are in bed with the for-profit healthcare system. And the biggest hurdles that remain to implement a single-payer healthcare system seem to be political hurdles, not anything else. So really what we need to do is educate the American people about how much better a single-payer healthcare system would be, which people like Bernie Sanders and AOC have done quite successfully. We just need more and more of it to where we have the political will to implement something like a single-payer healthcare system. And last but not least here, we have tuition-free college, where you don't have to pay for tuition in order to go to a higher education university in the United States of America. Here's the thing: is that this has been implemented in the past. In 1944, Franklin D. Roosevelt signed the GI Bill. It says here, nearly half of all college students in 1947 were military veterans. Thanks to President Franklin D. Roosevelt's signing of the GI Bill in 1944 to ensure that military service members, veterans, and their dependents could attend college tuition free. The GI Bill allowed 2.2 million veterans to earn a college education and another 5.6 million to receive vocational training, all of which helped expand the middle class. An estimated 40% of those veterans would not have been able to attend college otherwise. Recipients of the GI Bill benefits generated an extra $35.6 billion over 35 years and an extra $12.8 billion in tax revenue, resulting in a return of $6.90 for every dollar spent. The beneficiaries of the free tuition contributed to the economy by buying cars and homes and by getting jobs after college while not being burdened by college debt. They contributed to society with higher levels of volunteering, voting, and charitable giving. So, wow. When society pays a bit more through taxes to put people in society in general through higher education, what does it do? It benefits society in the long run because the increase in taxation that you are shouldering at first when people enter into higher education, by the time that person has gone through higher education, gotten a job out of college, raised a family, they have contributed to society in terms of dollars 7 times the amount that was spent to put them through higher education. It's a simple fact that when people have access to higher education without being burdened by devastating student loans that impact people well into their careers and impact spending power of American citizens, it benefits all of society. And higher education being free, if it was to be nationwide, I think that we would see something very similar to what happened in the mid 1940s with Franklin Roosevelt signing of the GI Bill. And in fact, many states have already implemented tuition-free college programs. Here in New Mexico, we did so, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago at this point. And I believe that we as a state are going to see we're going to reap the rewards of doing so. It might not be something that is immediate, but ultimately people who go to higher education are able to get better jobs. They're able to raise families and contribute more to society than people who are not able to attend higher education. So higher education being tuition free would be a very, very good policy measure for Congress to implement. But again, we need to get more Democrats elected if we are to see these things to pass, because ultimately the hurdles that exist to implementing these policy points are largely political ones, and they can certainly be overcome. But I just wanted to dispel the idea that there is no vision for the country that progressives have outside of being anti-Trump. These are just 3 policy points, 3 of what would be the most impactful. There are many, many, many more that I'll be breaking down in future videos, but I think that these would be the most impactful. Let me know what you guys think about these policy points down below. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.